So I want to show you guys how to, one way to build a curtain wall. A curtain wall is essentially a floor to ceiling wall of glass. And we call them curtains because they are non-structural in the building. So you will use these regularly, and I want to put one for the entire base. I want to treat this very much like a Corbusian project where the base essentially disappears and sits on its piers. Let's go ahead and do this round wall together. So after extracting the line, I offset that line twice, once for half a mullion space each, so that I could basically create a glass line in the middle of the mullion. I'm using my trim to clean up the ends, and I'm going to also connect the mullion. I want to be able to extrude that. So draw a line between the two mullion sides and join those three segments. Then you can use the close curve command to get the fourth side. Now if I select that middle line, I can use my extrude tool, and if I extrude it 10.5 feet, I will have a glass plane that is the height of a single floor. At any time, I can create a planar surface between the two sides of my mullion, and now I can extrude that to 2 inches to create the mullion for the glass window. The last step with the horizontal mullion is to duplicate it and move it vertically so that it's positioned on the wall in selected locations. I've placed one at an 8-foot height above the floor, and then I'm creating another one at the underside of the floor to cap that wall. Right now I'm not seeing the line between my glass and my mullion, so I'm going to split the mullion with the glass plane, and that will allow me to see the line where they intersect. I've chosen to move the bottom floor down because it's really much more consistent with building and design practice to have a taller floor to floor at the ground level. This gives a little bit more of the public space and the monumentality that one might expect in a kind of entry position. So I have changed this from 10'6" to just something that visually felt right, which is about 13.5 feet. And with those changes, I'm going to need to bring the bottom of the columns down to the ground. To do that, I'm going to use the move face command, which will allow me just to grab the bottom of the column and move it down to the ground level. The last step in the curtain wall is to make the vertical mullion to span between the floors. And I'm going to use the end of one of my horizontal mullions because it already has the correct angle for at least one side. So I used the sub-object select just to select the end face. I duplicated that end face at 2 inches, so it has the same dimension as my horizontal mullion. And what that did basically was split up my horizontal mullion and give it an additional face. Then I can use extract wireframe to create a curve that I can join and extrude into that mullion. So you can extrude that curve to a 14-foot dimension and then move it 14 feet vertically to place it correctly in between the horizontal mullions. You'll also need to do some trimming to fit that vertical mullion between your horizontal mullions. The last step on a curtain wall is going to be to array these mullions along the curve of the glass. So I cleaned up my end a little bit here, gave myself a sort of good point to land for that mullion. But let's just go ahead and do that. So if we select the object and we type in the command array curve, it will ask us which curve we want to use as the path for the array. I'm going to say that one. So it's just going to follow the line. And then it's going to give me some options. If I know the width of my glass, I know what the dimensions are going to be, then I can choose dimension between items. Perhaps I say it's 4'0". If I know rather that I want to subdivide this into a certain number of bays, then I can use that. What if we went with 8? And you can see that it just filled up my curve. So I'm going to do that for both of these curtain walls.